Hello heroes, Joe Smith here. Wanted to do an update to the previous story video about Mr. Larry Elder, black man, educated black man, being oppressed by the racist state of California from running for governor. Um, after reading some replies from heroes like you, uh, thanks to Mr. James, and also looking into the story a little bit further. I just kind of heard about the story from some headlines. I've been trying to read a little bit more about it now. Get a little bit more information, but apparently, I don't know if it's a new law or newer law. Sounds like maybe it's a newer law, at least, maybe past few years. California is requiring like 5 years of tax returns to run for governor or run for public office. But here's the thing. We just had our Vice President Kamala Harris go on TV and say that these voter laws where you have to mail in a photocopy of your ID are racist. To like register to vote through the mail or something, are racist because not all people, especially black people, have access to photocopy machines. And not all black people have IDs or driver's licenses because a lot of them don't know where the Department of Motor Vehicles is, or don't have means or ability to get there if they can find it, according to some of these public officials. Which, Joe Smith here thinks is total BS, of course. The only people that don't have access to photocopy machines are dead people. But here's the thing. Maybe since Mr. Larry Elder is black, maybe he doesn't have access to a Kinko's like Kamala Harris said, Vice President Kamala Harris said. Not a lot of people don't have a Kinko's in their town. In fact, a lot of people don't have a Kinko's in their town. In fact, pretty much most of the world doesn't have a Kinko's in their town, as they went out of business several years ago. But so Mr. Larry Elder probably doesn't have a Kinko's in his town and doesn't have the ability to photocopy his tax returns to mail them in so he can run for governor of California. But even asking for tax returns to be submitted prior to having your name put on the ballot, isn't that like asking for some sort of ID or proof of residency or proof that you're registered to vote prior to voting? Isn't that just another racist tactic to oppress the vote or suppress the vote and to oppress black people? How is asking for tax returns prior to have your name put on the ballot run for public office any different than asking for ID or proof of residency or voter registration prior to voting? To Joe Smith here, sounds like it's basically the same thing. Since black people can't find photocopy machines and they can't find Kinko's and they can't find the DMV, maybe they can't find H&R Block either. And maybe they have trouble doing their taxes. just because they can't find an H&R Block, or because they have trouble doing their taxes, or they don't have a job, or didn't have a job for a couple of years, so they don't have tax returns. Well, why should that prevent them from being on the ballot to run for governor of California? You know, all the Democrats of the state house boarded 2 private charter planes with at least one case of Miller Lite, flew to Washington, D.C. without masks, just to prevent Texas from passing from getting a quorum to hold the vote, which they would have had enough support to pass the vote from the Republicans to require some sort of proof of residency or ID to vote in Texas, because they thought that was so horrible, so racist, that was going to keep black people from being able to vote, because, you know, they can't find photocopy machines or Kinko's or the DMV or H&R Blocks. Yeah, H&R Blocks have photocopy machines too, so, you know, if you can find an H&R Block to do your taxes, and you can go ahead and make a photocopy of your ID and send it with your voter registration. And now half dozen, 5 or 6 members, Democrat members of the Texas State House, have tested positive for COVID, because they weren't wearing the mask, because they were on the crowded plane flying Washington, D.C. And now they've exposed other people in Washington, D.C. to it. They're literally, Democrats in Texas are literally killing people, trying to prevent the state of Texas from passing a voting reform bill requiring ID or proof of residency. And then they're passing reform bills in California requiring several years of tax returns to run for office at the same time. So, Joe Smith wasn't trying to pass any misinformation by saying it was simply because of the color of his skin earlier, but at the same time, you know, it wasn't complete misinformation, because according to the Democrats, these voter ID laws are meant to prevent black people from voting, so these copies of because they can't get copies of their ID or whatever, or can't find a Kinko's, well, same way is these California laws requiring tax records or tax returns for a few years, simply just another way to prevent black people from running for office. So, in a way, they are trying to oppress them over the color of his skin. What's your thoughts, heroes? Memorabilia collector, thanks for making the post on the previous video about this topic. And James, you too, thank you for your years of support, James. All 2 or 3 of them, however long Joe Smith's been doing this now. Been a good friend to Joe Smith, James. Thank you so much. But anyone else, Maltron, 7, Kingpin, anyone, even people that watch and don't post comments ever, feel free to post comments sometime, or just say hi or say thanks or whatever. Let Joe Smith know that you're watching, that you like what he talks about, that you like his thoughts and comments and opinions. And again, Joe Smith said this many times before, many times before. If you disagree with what Joe Smith's saying, feel free to post your opinions and comments. If someone attacks you, starts calling you names, Joe Smith will ban them. So, heroes out there, if someone posts a comment disagreeing with Joe Smith, do not call them names. Feel free to have a civilized discussion with them. Feel free to post your opinions in reply to their opinions, but at the same time be respectful of their opinions and be respectful of their First Amendment right to disagree with Joe Smith. Don't call them any names. Don't say they're stupid. We welcome anyone on the Joe Smith channel here. Democrats, you're more than welcome. Post your thoughts and comments on this. Black people, Asian people, Hispanics, Martians, little green men, purple people eaters, zombies, monsters, vampires. Everyone's welcome. Post your opinion. We're not going to do any name calling. We're not going to start swearing at each other. And again, if you disagree with Joe Smith, don't post any name calling. Don't start calling Joe Smith names. Just be polite and respectful and say why you disagree. Hey, no need to call Joe Smith stupid for his comments. If you disagree, just say, just say, sir, I disagree with you. Thank you for your opinion, Mr. Joe Smith, but I disagree with you. This is why, and post your opinion and comments on why you disagree with Joe Smith here. And let's have a civilized discussion about it. And Joe Smith will try to reply in between when taking a break at work or at night before going to bed. And any of the other heroes in the Hero Nation are more than welcome to enter into a civilized conversation and a discussion with anyone that disagrees with Joe Smith. Just keep it polite. Be polite to each other. Be friendly with each other. Okay? We're all members of the human race here. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. So no name calling, no bullying, no cussing and swearing at each other. But disagreement is welcome. And for those of you that do disagree with Joe Smith, please make sure you hit the dislike button. Please make sure you ring that bell. Please make sure you subscribe. That way you get notifications of future Joe Smith videos. So that way you can watch some more and disagree some more and post more reasons why you disagree. So please, if you do disagree, come back and disagree more often. And then likewise, those of you that do agree with Joe Smith, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And come back and say why you agree more often. Thank you, heroes, for watching. Joe Smith signing out.